New York City is losing residents fast. Why are they moving to Philadelphia? As someone who's lived in Philly my entire life and who has helped tons of people make the move from New York City to Philly, I can say firsthand why so many of my clients have told me why they're making the move. So let's break down the real pros and cons of leaving New York City for Philadelphia with things such as the cost of living, housing options, traffic, and so much more. Stick around to the end because I'll share one thing that will help you fit in with Philadelphia just a little bit better. Over the last 4 years alone, New York City has lost just under 600,000 residents, which equates to about 411 a day leaving the city, with a good amount moving to Philadelphia. The first major advantage of leaving New York City to come to Philly are the tax advantages. The income tax difference between these two cities is massive, with New York City's tax brackets ranging from 4% to almost 11%, with an additional city income tax of up to 3.8%. So depending on your annual income, you could be easily paying 10% or more in annual income tax. So comparing that to Philadelphia, where you'll see a drastic decrease, Philadelphia is of course part of Pennsylvania, which has a flat rate income tax of 3.07%, meaning no matter if you make $10,000 a year or 10 million plus a year, everyone is taxed at that same 3.07% tax rate. But in Philadelphia, if you're a resident, you'll also be taxed by the Philadelphia wage tax at an additional 3.75%, meaning if you live in Philly, your total income tax between state and city will likely be 6.81% total, no matter how much you make. Sales tax in New York City is 8.875% compared to Philly, which has an overall 8% sales tax made up of 6% standard in Pennsylvania and an additional 2% in Philadelphia. Before we get into the drastic housing differences and other pros, the next major advantage of living in Philadelphia is the overall easier city living. Philly is a much smaller city, so it has more of a community feel instead of a large, crazy city. But along with that, since it's smaller with an overall lower population, it's much easier to drive and park in Philly than in New York City. Street parking, parking lots, and parking garages are much more accessible, but also the overall number of homes with garages is much higher than in New York City as well. So all that traffic that you have to deal with in New York will be significantly cut down by living in Philly. Clients that I have that have left New York City and made the move to Philly always say that the Philly traffic is nothing compared to what they're used to in New York City. Since Philly is a much smaller city, it's also a lot more walkable as well. So it's likely that instead of having to cross multiple city boroughs in New York, it's pretty safe to say that for the most part, just about everywhere that you would need to go, you could most likely walk to in Philly. I don't want you to think that Philly will feel too small because it is still one of the largest cities in the country, but of course, comparing it to New York's size and population, it is much smaller, but it still very much has that big city energy. With culture, amazing food, and great history, you'll find incredible museums all throughout Philadelphia, such as the Philly Museum of Art, the Franklin Institute, along with many historic landmarks such as the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall. When it comes to food, Philly does not disappoint, especially comparing it to everything that New York City has. You'll have everything from Michelin star restaurants and rooftop dining to actually some pretty good street vendors as well, especially for some great cheesesteaks. One of the main food staples in Philadelphia, and personally one of my favorite, is the Reading Terminal Market. It's a massive indoor food space packed with local vendors serving just about every type of cuisine that you could imagine. Plus, what makes Philly so special is that you still have that big city experience with tons of great sporting events, concerts, nightlife, and walkable neighborhoods, but at a more manageable pace and lower cost to enjoy those things compared to New York. All right, so to piggyback off of that one, another great advantage of living in Philly is all of the different things to do. Philly is full of energy with tons of great festivals and events happening all year round, from summer block parties and outdoor concerts to seasonal events such as the Christmas Village and the 4th of July celebration. Sports fans can of course catch a Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, or Flyers game. And if you love more of the walkable neighborhoods, Philly has a great variety with neighborhoods to explore such as Rittenhouse Square, Fishtown, Manayunk, etc. And all of them really offer their own different community feel. If you're more of an outdoorsy person, you'll definitely love outdoor spots such as the Schuylkill River Trail, Fairmount Park, and Kelly Drive, which is perfect for running, walking, biking, or just really enjoying nature. Another thing to keep in mind is that although you would plan to live in one of the biggest cities in the country, you're still only around an hour drive to the Jersey Shore and under 2 hours to the Pocono Mountains, perfect for those long weekend getaways. These next two advantages of living in Philadelphia that we're going to go over are some of the most important. Starting with the average housing cost in Philly, which is over $570,000 cheaper than the average cost in New York City. As of the time of making this video, the most expensive neighborhood in Philadelphia based on average home sale price is Chestnut Hill, with an average cost of $903,500 compared to New York City's most expensive neighborhood, Hudson Yards, with an average home sale price of $6 million. 70% of New York City households are renters compared to 48% in Philadelphia. For the price of renting in New York, you could most likely buy a home in Philadelphia that is almost double the size or more, has parking, and is more newly renovated. The everyday cost of living in Philly will surprise you as well, because while the housing is drastically cheaper, some more of the biggest gaps in cost of living comes from the just everyday expenses that will definitely add up, such as utilities, which are over 9% less expensive in Philly. Groceries can offer a massive savings as well, because that milk gallon in New York City that costs $5.14 is closer to $4 in Philly, along with that loaf of bread in New York City for roughly almost $5 is only around $3.40 in Philly. Also, for example, a doctor visit in Philadelphia might cost around $150 compared to over $210 in New York City. A typical everyday coffee might cost around $5.50 in Philly versus $7.50 in New York. And if you plan to use the public transportation system in Philadelphia, you'll be happy to hear that it's on average about 15% more affordable than in New York. You obviously get it by now that Philadelphia offers a massive cost savings in just about every category compared to living in New York City. But before you jump to your phone to contact me and say, I'm ready to make the move and find my perfect home here, there are some cons of living in Philadelphia that you need to know. One of the major downsides of living in Philadelphia compared to New York City is the overall smaller job market and the lower salary range as well. While Philadelphia offers a much more affordable lifestyle, it also doesn't compete with New York City's overall economic scale, because New York is a major hub for industries like finance, media, and technology. Philadelphia's economy is definitely growing, but it's hard to compete with a city that has Broadway, Wall Street, Times Square, etc. Philadelphia leans more on the healthcare, education, and biotech as its major industries, but also offering tons of opportunities in so many other industries throughout the city as well. On average, wages in Philadelphia tend to be about 10 to 20% lower for comparable roles in New York City. And there are fewer higher paying corporate headquarters or executive level positions available, but keep in mind, while a lower salary doesn't sound great, a significant decrease in the overall cost of living throughout just about every category could still mean you could end up saving more after the lower expenses in Philadelphia. Another potential drawback, depending on what you're looking for, could be is that Philadelphia doesn't really have the same city that never sleeps type energy that New York has. In New York City, the nightlife goes strong and well into the early morning hours, with bars, restaurants, and entertainment options running nearly 24/7. But in Philly, things tend to wind down around 2 a.m. at the latest for most bars and restaurants. While that might not matter to you, the clients that I've helped make the move to Philadelphia have noticed, for better or worse, that Philly has a noticeably quieter, slower paced lifestyle, especially after midnight. So this next disadvantage of leaving New York for Philly could be the biggest one yet. Although Philly has some incredible food options, when it comes to bagels, we just don't have as good of bagels as New York does. But in all seriousness, the one thing that you need to know that will help you fit into Philly just a little bit better is that if you are a die-hard New York City resident and you either need to move to Philadelphia or you just want to move, whether it's for job or just a lower cost of living and great quality of life, keep in mind that you're not going to be living in New York anymore. So Philadelphia also loves its city. Please be respectful and don't come to Philadelphia and just tell everyone how great New York is or constantly compare New York to Philadelphia. It just wouldn't really go over well. So if you're moving to Philadelphia, you can of course still love New York, but keep an open mind to start to love Philadelphia as well, because Philadelphia residents really do just have a strong passion for all things Philadelphia. When you're ready to make the move, I would love to help you find your perfect Pennsylvania home. You can email me here or click the contact link in the description below, and I'll see you over on this next video.